Hello, Gene the OK Boomer here. Welcome to this week's vlog. Should be an interesting one if you've seen the title. Well, you must have seen the title, so you know it's going to be an interesting one this week. And I actually would be very interested, well, I'm always interested, but especially interested this time to get comments from all of you. Am I right? Am I wrong? What's your opinion? What's your prediction? But for now, just hear me out. I'm going to make an argument in a second, but first of all, some other items to take care of first, just little ones. The first one being, well, there's good news and bad news. I'll give you the bad news first, and the bad news this week is the same as the bad news last week and the week before, which is Joe Biden is president. His entire administration, I won't say he hasn't done anything right. There might be something right there somewhere. Actually, he was, well, that disastrous press conference that he had, well, it's this week for me. I'm recording this the same week. You're seeing this on Monday, so for you it's last week. There's been so much commentary on that and criticism both from Democrats and Republicans, which is one item to take of which to take note, that he's starting to get a lot of criticism from his fellow Democrats, and the very far left, they're not too happy about that. They're calling for Chuck Todd, for example, the NBC, Meet the Press, for him to be fired because he was critical of Joe Biden. And then Kamala Harris, she's been getting grilled mercilessly every time she's, well, the most recent one, as I'm recording this, Jake Tapper, just asking her about, well, you ask her about anything, and the crisis at the border, that's one thing, and the declining poll numbers. It doesn't matter what the subject is. It's just interesting that she cackles often, but it's called redirection. The body language people call it that. She redirects. She tries to change the subject. You say, well, what about this and that disaster that we're facing right now? And this administration is fighting hard. We're not going to give up. That's basically her answer to everything. Never discusses this, but you don't get any specifics out of her. And Joe Biden, when he speaks, you don't understand him half the time. It's really distressing. So that is some kind of bad news. He was crowing in that press conference how they've created more jobs or created, I should put that in quotes, created more jobs than any administration in history. The fact is we are over 3 million jobs short of where we were right before coronavirus, the outbreak, when Trump was president. All we're doing is getting back jobs, and the low unemployment numbers, you have to remember that they're calculated based on people, not people who are unemployed, people who are unemployed and looking for work. So we have a very low unemployment rate, but unlike during the Trump administration and previous administrations when we've had a low unemployment rate, it's because people aren't looking for work. The large numbers of people who are not looking for work because they're being paid not to work. And when you don't pay people to work, when you just give, that's the other problem. Well, it's one of the questions that Kamala Harris, I believe, didn't want to answer. What is the result when you have a lot of people getting money but not producing anything, no goods, no services in return for that money? So you have all this money, all this purchasing power, but nothing to purchase because nothing is being produced, or there's a shortage of goods. Not to mention, maybe you saw the story of, I'll see if I can dig up a picture, the trains being robbed, the trains going through LA, Los Angeles, the packages strewn on the tracks. So you have these big, the containers that come off the container ships, and the train stops. People get on top of these containers. They break the locks very easily, and they rob them. Another source of this shortage of goods. The point is, you have a lot of money, you don't have the goods, being produced, and what do you get? What's the result? The result is inflation. That's Milton Friedman 101, or economics 101. Too much money chasing too few goods, and that's just one of the problems that we have. And the other problem, the overarching problem, is to get through the next 3 years of this administration, because we have to. We can't. If Biden is gone, that means Kamala Harris is president, becomes president, which it would be, even you liberals have to admit, would be a lot worse. Her staff, you may have noticed, is leaving in large numbers, and it's because she's, first of all, such a terrible manager, so incompetent, but also because she doesn't prepare. They create briefing books for her and materials. She doesn't read them, and that's why you see her go out and be asked any question, and she just says, well, we're fighting real hard, or it's those nasty Republicans, because she doesn't have the answer, because she hasn't prepared, and there are questions that she should easily be expecting. But again, she doesn't prepare. But this will get to my main point, which I will get to. I just want to get just one more item out of the way, I promise, one short one. Look at this map. The states that are recovering, there are only 4 states in the country that have recovered all the jobs that they lost before coronavirus. Only 4 states out of 50, the entire union, have the low unemployment rates that they had before COVID and the full employment. And here they are, Idaho and Utah and Arizona and Texas. What do these states have in common? They're red states run by Republicans. So all the states that have recovered fully, they're all Republican-run states. Now, getting to the main subject for today, we have to start with this one graphic I'm going to put up for you here. This is from Gallup. This is a recent Gallup poll, and it's historic. It's a switch in party affiliation. Generally, no matter how the election goes, you have to go way back, I think, to the 90s to find one time. The country was basically divided into thirds, 1/3 independent, 1/3 Republican, 1/3 Democrats, but there would be more Democrats, sometimes a very good margin. But as you can see from this chart, that's switched. Now it's completely switched. When Biden took office, it was 49 to 40% of people identifying as Democrats compared to Republicans. Now it's completely reversed. 47% of Americans identify as Republicans, and only 42 identify as Democrats. That is very significant. And by the way, you see that I did that little thing there. That's not from Gallup. That's something that somebody photoshopped onto there. If you haven't seen that, I did that sticker. It's all over the country, including in blue states. They put them on gas pumps right next to the price, the high price of gas. So you have this little, I did that, and Biden pointing at the high price because he did that. And there was even one the other day in a supermarket, bare shelves, and then just one little tray of hamburger or whatever, and the high price on it, and then one of these stickers on the package. I did that because Biden is responsible for the inflation, and he's responsible for the high gas prices. The high gas prices, this is the problem that they're having. He's totally captive to his left wing, far left base. They want us not to use fossil fuels. They've got this hatred of fossil fuels, want us to use electric cars, and therefore they want the price of gas. The way it should work is the efficiency of the electric cars would be improved as time would go on, and then would be more economical than gas. So what you want is gas where in my area outside of Memphis, Tennessee, gas was about $1.85, we'll say $2. So you want $2 gas, and then you want the electric cars to be even cheaper, and you want them to run longer, and you want not to have to freeze to death, by the way, in a snowstorm. Maybe you remember those people trapped for 14 hours or something, or longer in somewhere, I think it was Texas somewhere. These people trapped in their cars, and I think somebody even froze to death. But the problem is, if you have an internal combustion engine, you can run your engine, shut it off and turn it on, maybe run at intervals, but you can run your engine. But you can't do that if you have an electric car. The problem is that electric vehicles, the batteries, they run down very quickly in cold weather. They run down very fast in cold weather when they're being used, and therefore you don't have heat for very long. That's a problem that I think people haven't thought of. The green left wing probably hasn't thought of that, but they probably don't care anyways, because they really they believe in animal rights. They put animals on an equal footing with people. So if there are fewer people, then there are fewer people to eat the animals. So I guess that's a good idea. But I digress. I just want to throw in another fact, which is I was watching, I got to throw in 2 more facts. Another thing contributes to the main subject for today. But you probably know about the Nord Stream, the pipeline, and Trump had put sanctions on to stop it. Russia selling gas to Europe and making Europe dependent on Russia for gas, for energy, but also helping Russia financially to make our lives difficult. But here's something I did not know until I saw a talking head on TV earlier today on the Fox Business Channel, an energy expert. We are buying oil from Russia. Remember, we were under Trump energy independent, and we were exporting oil. We could have exported liquefied natural gas, for instance, to Germany and Europe, and they wouldn't need the Russian gas. And it's the least they could do, because we support NATO and all. Well, don't get me started on all the things that we do for Europe that Europe doesn't seem to appreciate us doing for them. So in fairness, it's only Germany that wants the Russian gas. The rest of Europe, and I think a lot of Germans also didn't want to do it. The point is, we are now, because of the shortage, this artificial shortage that Joe Biden has created by cutting off drilling, cutting off the Keystone pipeline, which would have brought gas or oil, by the way, from Canada. So that's imported, but it's from a friendly country, from Canada. And now we're getting gas from oil from Russia. So the point is that this talking head made is that if the Russians were to go into Ukraine, the problem is they can create problems for Europe because they depend on their gas, but they can create problems for us if we do something, if we ship lethal aid, to which we should have done a long time ago, to Ukraine. Russia could stop sending us oil, and then we're going to suffer for it. So you see, we talk about Biden is threatening these economic sanctions on Russia if they go in, which is another dumb move that we have to tolerate with this horrible administration. You should put the sanctions on now. Do it now to prevent him from going in. Once he goes in, I don't think he cares about, he wants to reconstitute the Soviet Union, and it doesn't bother him. And he's got a good precedent in Tiananmen Square in China, that after that the whole Western world condemned China, but we do business. We are now importing more from China than ever. That's all gone by the wayside. Look what they're doing to the Uyghurs. Just genocide on the Uyghurs. They're the ones that are not being forced into slave labor. And the NBA is still playing, they're still doing their basketball games in China. And we're still, our businesses, it's really terrible. I'm a capitalist, and I really, sometimes I have to admit, I agree with my liberal friends, capitalism can go too far. Sometimes you have to rest on principle and not do business with horrible people and horrible regimes, even if it hits your bottom line. So I'm really disappointed in that. But what I told you about the change in party affiliation, but also if you drill down into that, there's been a really big switch among Hispanics. Another talking head on TV today. They are really fed up. You're seeing officials such as a mayor down in Texas, McAllen. No, he was a Republican, but it was the first time that a Republican was elected mayor of that city, which is overwhelmingly Hispanic. And then there is a local legislator in Texas who switched to the Republican Party from Democrats. The point is that I think it's now split. The support, Hispanic support, is now split evenly between the two major parties. That had never happened before. And then Trump did better among black voters than, you'd have to go all the way back to Nixon was the last one who did better than Trump did. And I predict that the Republican candidate, whoever it is, will do better in 2024, not to mention doing really well in 2022, because as you heard in that press conference, Joe Biden has no intention, he's just doubling down on what he's already doing. He's, to give credit where credit is due, Bill Clinton, when he lost the House and the Senate after his first 2 years, he went, remember State of the Union, he went up and a Democrat. Bill Clinton said the era of big government is over. And from that moment on, he worked with Newt Gingrich. And it's unfortunate, this whole Monica Lewinsky scandal, that blew up, because otherwise, they could have done even some really great things together, for instance, on health care and on, I think they were going to do some kind of Medicare reform that got put on the back burner, but they did manage to do workfare, welfare to work, which this administration, the Obama administration before Biden, canceled. That was a successful program. Clinton did the capital gains tax, and now we have administration hell-bent on raising taxes, except for the SALT deduction, the state and local tax deduction. They want to put that back to allow wealthy Democrats in Democratic states to be able to deduct more of their state taxes. Talk about hypocrisy. And I'll throw in another, I guess this is I only do these once a week, so you have to bear with me. I go off on a lot of subjects. But somebody made a very good point the other day. I wish I knew who it was to give credit. But remember, well, we have the Congress, the Democrats hell-bent on election reform, voter reform, which is really just election cheating when you drill down into what they actually want to do. But their mantra is, well, we want everybody we don't want any votes suppressed. We don't want any voter suppression. We want people to be able to go out and vote for their candidates. But what they don't mention, which somebody should, besides this one person, somebody should ask Joe Biden or at least Jen Psaki, what do they do to these minor parties? The Green Party. The Green Party had a candidate, and they blamed the Green Party for costing Hillary Clinton votes in certain swing states. So they were hell-bent. They went all out in the 2020 election to sue the Green Party to keep them off the ballot. So they say they want everybody to vote, but I'm sure they didn't have that same problem with the Libertarian Party. And the Republicans, I've never heard of them trying to keep the Libertarians off the ballot. I could be wrong, correct me if I am, but it's hypocritical for the Democrats to say we want everybody to vote and then go out and try to keep Jill Stein and the Green Party off the ballots, because they know that, or they worry at least, that she would siphon votes from the Democratic candidate. But if you add all this up, the movement of voters shifting from Democrat to Republican, and don't get me even started on the independents, who are overwhelmingly for the Republican candidate, for Republicans. They're overwhelmingly supporting the Republican candidates now, and the generic congressional ballot shows the same thing. And I've seen a couple polls of likely voters that show that. And by the way, my two go-to polls, Rasmussen and Trafalgar. Rasmussen had Biden down to 38% in one poll. Now he's at 41% on Friday, the day I'm recording this. But my other go-to poll is Trafalgar, and Trafalgar has him at 39%, their most recent poll. So you put all that together, and I see a real possibility. You have to remember, the Republicans, they have won several times the electoral college vote, but they often win the electoral college, but they lose the popular vote. But I think that there's a good chance that Trump will be the Republican candidate in 2024, and I see a very good possibility that he will win the popular vote. And I would even say that if it's DeSantis, he would even do better in the popular vote than would Trump. But I fully expect Trump to be the nominee. He's got such a lead over the other candidates. And again, this is what I'm going to end on, and this is where I would welcome other comments, get a little debate here. I really think, I can't predict for sure, I'm not predicting, but I think it's very possible that Donald Trump in 2024 could be elected president with the Electoral College, of course, and the popular vote. And that's it for this week. Thanks as always for stopping by. I really appreciate the time you spend with me. If you have any comments, I'll say for the umpteenth time, put them in the comment section below the video, or you can put questions, suggestions for future topics. You could share this video with anybody you think would benefit from it. You could subscribe. I love getting new subscribers. I've had a few recently. Welcome all of you. And I guess that's it. Again, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you come back and see me again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.